Hey everybody, this is Tony, and I'm here today with a special guest, none other than Miss Dawn Robinson. How you doing today?
I'm good, Tony. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, even better now that I'm talking to you.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Thank you for that.
No problems. How has this quarantine been treating you?
It's been fine. You know, what can you do? Complaining isn't going to change it.
Exactly.
Um, Fearing it isn't going to change anything. It's just going to bring more harm to me than good. So I keep praying and trying to be as healthy with my immune system as possible, because there are things that we
Right.
can do to protect ourselves. People just don't want to hear it. They're just COVID crazy. And I'm like, okay, but you can do stuff to protect yourself before this supposed vaccine, which I don't suggest any Black people take at all.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, because they've been like, okay, Black people have to take it first. I'm like, why?
Mm-mm-mm.
So it's very suspicious to me, Tony.
Yeah, me
Um,
too.
yeah, excuse me. So yeah, I've been, taking it easy. I keep telling people to take the time while we have downtime, take the time to utilize this time in our lives to create something for yourself. There's
Yeah,
all kinds of information to start your own business, to write grants for yourself, or to go to the state and get a grant to start a business. Anything that you had a dream to do before, we had a whole year to make that happen or to figure it out. And so by 2021, we should be able to launch whatever business we have, a book. Everyday
that's
people
right.
do it all the time. So it's
That's
not
right.
like, oh, she's a celebrity, so she can do that. No, it's not about being a celebrity. It's about utilizing the resources that are out there for free.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I just finished telling somebody that the other day, and I said, I know a lot of people are, obviously suffered due to the virus, but on the other side of that, those of us who are still fine and healthy, should come out of this with some kind of new skill or new tool or new something,
Thank you.
you know.
Thank you. That's
Like,
real, Tony. Yes,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, at this point, if you don't, it's almost kind of crazy because it's like you really didn't want to do something at this point.
You just didn't want to
So
do it. Yeah, you were
yeah,
lazy and you took it for granted and used COVID as an excuse as opposed to a launching pad. You know what I mean?
right, right.
More people are healthy than people that have died from it, and the numbers are inflated anyway.
Of course.
Excuse me. So yeah, I'm trying to utilize as much as I can to
Yeah,
create what I need for 2021. Look
I
forward to
know
the
that's right.
future. Yeah.
Of course. Well, let's talk about a little bit of your history before we get to the future. Of
Okay.
course, everybody know you as a member of En Vogue and
Yeah.
Lucy Pearl. Um,
Yes.
of course,
I'm proud of both of those groups. Yes, thank you.
yes, yes. Of course, En Vogue was hugely successful, and at the time that it first started, it was you, Maxine, Cindy, and Terry who started out in the group.
Right.
But if I remember correctly, Denzel Foster and Thomas McElroy was the one who put the group together, correct?
Exactly. Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
And then if I remember right, you all had to audition for En Vogue. You guys didn't know each other before, is that right?
Exactly. Well, Maxine and I have met at a hair salon because she used to braid hair, and she happened to be in a hair salon that I went to in Oakland, California, and it was my first time there, and I had never met her before. But the owner found out that I could sing, and he knew that she could sing, so he made us sing something together. So he had met maybe about, oh, I'd say about 8 months to a year before we actually met in Vogue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then Maxine had met Cindy, or had known of her. I think she knew of her because in the Bay Area, Cindy was well known as an actress, a local actress. She had a show on TV called Up and Coming when she was 12.
Mm-hmm.
So she was a Bay Area a known artist in the Bay Area. And Maxine was like, "Oh my God!" When we got to the audition, she was like, "That's Cindy Herron." Um, and then Cindy and Terry had met for a project that Carl Lewis had. He wanted to do an album, but at the time he was just a runner. Um, so yeah, they met on his project, and then Maxine had never met Terry. I had never met Terry or Cindy. Yeah, so we had different meetings with different people. I only met
Okay,
Maxine,
okay.
never met Cindy and Terry, and yeah, so that's how it went. I think I got
Okay.
it right.
Look, that's good enough. Okay.
Thank you.
But of course, when you guys got together, like I said, you had to audition before the
Mhm.
four of you were eventually chosen. Now,
Yes,
basically, that came out to be Born to Sing, which was the first album En Vogue
exactly.
ever released.
Right.
But the harmonies that you guys had and the sound that you guys had, was that there from the initial meeting?
Yes, it was. It was there from Terry was late to the meeting, getting to to the audition itself. She was very late because she had really bad weather coming out of Houston.
Yeah.
And so we had already started the process of recording the background parts for Waiting on You. That's the song that we auditioned with. And Denny was like sitting there writing it while we were trying to work out our background parts and all of that. So we had never heard that song before, and we had never heard each other sing together as the four of us before either. And it was just magic. It was when we got in the studio, we each picked a note that we thought was right for us, and Denny kind of listened to our voices and said, okay, you have a really high voice, Cindy, and Terry. So they put them in the soprano parts, and Maxine took the alto because her voice is kind of the lowest.
You're right.
And he put me kind of in the middle. And mezzo soprano is what they call it. So it's not quite as high as the other two, but yeah. And the harmonies were amazing, so we couldn't
Yeah.
deny that. Yeah, they couldn't deny that we sounded good together. Um, and initially they only wanted three of us in the group. But
Hmm.
when they heard the four of us together, they were like, well, when one of us sings lead, the other three can sing background. So it
Right.
worked out perfect. It worked out really perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And one of those examples, of course, was Hold On, where you all
Hmm.
really showed your vocals in the beginning. I thought that was just
Exactly.
an awesome way to showcase your vocals, not only, but
Thank
then to
you.
include an old school sample and still, come out with your own style. So I thought that
Sound,
was awesome.
yes. Thank you so
Um,
much. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
no, no problem. Of course. What was some of your favorite songs off of that first album?
Oh my God. Now you stumped me. Oh my gosh. I haven't heard that album in so long, Tony. Oh, I'm gonna hurt you so bad.
No, please don't. Please
If I
don't.
ever meet you, oh wait. No, no, no. It's good that you asked me that. Okay, so I love Desire. I
Yeah.
love Desire. I want to say Just Can't Stay Away is on that first album.
Mhm.
I love that too. It Ain't Over Till the Fat Lady Sings, because Maxine sings lead and I do the rap on that. um, yeah, so let me see. Just Can't Stay Away. Um, Don't Go. I like Don't Go. I didn't like it when I first heard it because I thought it was a little too risque. And I was
Yeah.
coming out of the church. I was coming out the church and I was like, I am not going to sing about lay me down upon my bed and make me feel the heat. Like, I'm not doing that. So Denny came in and he was like, okay, Dawn, you don't want to sing it. Get out the way. Terry, come in here and sing it. Terry was like, okay, I feel the time is right. She jumped right in.
That's right. That's right.
And she did it fine. She did a great job. Yeah, so It Ain't Over Till the Fat Lady Sings, Just Can't Stay Away, and Desire. Oh my gosh. So sorry.
No,
Tony,
you.
where are you? Okay. Yeah.
I'm here.
So I got a phone call that came in. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, so those three I think are my favorites. Desire being the first. Hey you, it doesn't sound right with just one voice because we had a beautiful flow in the beginning of that whole thing, and it was just
Yeah.
the harmonies were very sexy, and then there's a song, the audition, Waiting on You, like I was just talking about.
Right.
And I sing lead on it. They chose my very audition to put on the album. So I was proud. I was proud of that. Like, yeah,
Right.
they picked my version of I wasn't gloating because I just didn't know how good I was, and I was shy and kind of dumbing down what my worth was in the very beginning. So I didn't notice how
Yeah.
good I really was. And now I know. Now I'm very proud,
Yeah.
of what I did. And that song, that was the audition, Waiting on You. So Waiting on You is my #1 favorite song on the
Okay.
first album. And then Desire, and then all the rest. Just Can't Stay
Okay.
Away.
Okay. Yeah, I think definitely, it's crazy that you, like you said, dumbing down your words back then, because honestly, listening to those vocals alone, it was like, wow, because you have,
Wow.
grown people who can't even, sound like this right now today. So it's just
Wow.
amazing.
Oh
It's
my
amazing.
gosh. Thank you
Yeah, it
so
really is.
much, Tony. My goodness. Thank you. Well, I mean, I've been singing with most of the great artists. I won't even say most of us. I'll say I've been singing with the greatest artists all my life.
Right.
It had natural talent, thank God. We all did. All of En Vogue did. But my voice lessons as a kid would be to sing with Shaka Khan or Stephanie Mills or,
Oh yes. Oh yes.
yeah, Tina Marie, growing up. So, it was indicative of that. I have to say, a lot of the greatest singers are the ones that trained me to sing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So singing with them, I kind of honed my craft, Minnie Riperton and great artists like that. Yeah. So I just kind of, I think my voice it was more mature at a young age than a lot of people would have. You can
Right.
tell
Right.
someone's talented, but they may not have polished sound
Right. There
until they
you
get
go.
older. Yeah, yeah. So we all
Yeah.
did, though. I mean, all of En Vogue had our sound, and just again that harmony. Oh my God, it was undeniable. It was just
Yeah,
undeniable.
it was. And I think that's what really set En Vogue apart right from the beginning, because
Yeah,
you had other groups out, of course, back in the days. And even around the time that you guys came out, there were other groups that came right after you and right before you. So,
yeah.
but I don't think anybody had done what you guys had done. I mean, the closest that I can probably think of was maybe like the Pointer Sisters or something.
Right,
But
right.
nobody was really doing what you guys were doing, and everybody was taking lead. Everybody could sing, at the drop
Yeah,
of a dime. So it was
exactly.
it was not common, really. So
Well, you had remember Kathy. I mean, Sister Sledge,
yeah,
in the '70s, and then you had the Emotions.
right,
Those were sisters, and they were singing harmonies like that as well.
right.
But I think us doing the a cappella is what was so different. You exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And then so when we recorded those pieces, they were actually separate from one another. The a cappella
Mm.
part was separate from the Hold On part.
Okay.
So Who's Loving You is the a cappella part, and that was separate from Hold On for months and months and months while we finished recording the album. So when we went to the studio to master and mix the album, and this was maybe, I would say 7 months after we recorded the album, we came back to the studio to master and mix the album and synchronize. What do they call it? Not synchronize. Yeah, kind of. So you got to put, what song is going to be number 1, number 2, number
Right.
3, synchronize. When they synchronized the album, that's what we had to do that day. When we got to the studio, they played Hold On for us, and they had put those 2 pieces together, and I was like, oh no, not gonna work. Oh my God, this is terrible. Because we were so used to hearing for months, we had been hearing 2 separate parts.
Right.
Who's Loving You, the a cappella part, and then Hold On, this, and it's like, oh my God, we're gonna fail. This is a major fail. And had they listened to us, our producers knew what they were doing, of course, because we had no clue. And had they listened to us, we would have had no hits at all.
Right.
It's not to say that Lies or You Don't Have to Worry or Desire would not have been a hit, or Don't Go wouldn't have been a hit, but I just thought, oh my God, this is terrible. But it was so different, and that's why I didn't get it at first. For them to
Yeah.
put that
Yeah.
acapella on the beat, nobody was doing that.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So, yeah, so that's why I thought, oh my God, this is terrible. But actually, it was just because it was just so different to the ear.
Right.
Yeah, and it was like so perfect, though. I'm glad they did not listen to us.
Look, I'm glad you in that case.
I'm glad too, right? Exactly, Tony.
Yeah, but you know, even like I said, even the groups that came afterwards, like you had SWV, but SWV didn't really do, you know, things like that. They could sing live, don't get me wrong, but
Sure,
you had like
sure.
Lily and Taj that were pretty much do like their background parts, and then Coco was
Exactly.
like a lead singer, and then you had TLC, which was Chili and T-Boz more singing,
Right.
and then Left Eye did like the rapping. So you didn't really have a whole lot of people doing what you guys were doing. Uh,
No, but let me just say to that, all girl groups were different. You know what I mean? Nobody was like even this in the 60s, the Supremes were the standout group. But then you
right.
had Martha and the Vandellas, you had the Shangri-Las, you had the Ronettes,
Yep.
you know what I mean? You had all these different groups. So the Shangri-Las did My Boyfriend's Back and You're Gonna Be in Trouble. Hey,
Hey,
love, hey,
love, hey,
love, my
love.
boyfriend's back. Yeah.
That's right.
So, but they, I guess they kind of had a similar line that went through each group. So you had the dance steps were really low key and very
Yep.
tight together. You didn't do a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and then I don't know if those groups came out with other hits. My Boyfriend's Back is the one that I remember by them. I think they're the Angels or but each group had its own thing. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
they did. They did.
But they were similar. Everybody was trying to do so. Anytime a group comes out or an artist comes out, everybody tries everybody's been trying to be Michael Jackson since Michael.
Right. Right.
You got, and they all are all very talented in their own right. So you got Chris Brown who copies him. You
Yeah.
got Usher who copies him. You have, you got Marion even tried to copy him at one
Yeah.
point. So Michael has been Michael, and everybody tries to raise that bar themselves to that bar. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So
true.
when En Vogue came out in 1990, of course the record companies were like, okay, we need to get a girl group. We need a girl group now to be like En Vogue. And I gotta say though, Total was not like En Vogue.
Right.
702 was not like Total.
Right.
Ex-Girlfriend was not like anybody. They were all their own thing. TLC was not trying to be like En Vogue. I think they said they were the male version of BBD
Mhm.
with the baggy jeans and the hip hop look. You know what I'm saying? So
Right. Right.
they weren't trying to be like us. Now, Destiny's Child was probably the closest because they tried to harmonize in that way.
Yeah.
But I'm glad the TLC had their own thing. I'm glad because we didn't have a rapper. I rapped, but I was not anybody's rapper. I was not trying. So I was just shocked that Denny was like, okay, Dawn, you take this part and the fat lady sings, or you take this part in Silent Night. It's the time of the year when I want to hold my close, my dear. Oh, no, don't get me wrong. The other cold night, but there's something about the holidays cold so nice to get you in the mood.
All
I
right.
wasn't trying to be, I wasn't trying to rap though. I was no Left Eye by any means. It wasn't my thing, but they just felt like I could do it. And I'm glad he believed
Yeah.
in me. So anyway, I digress. So each girl group had their own thing, you know?
Yeah,
No,
yeah, that's true.
SWV, right. Brownstone wasn't trying to be like En Vogue or
Right.
SWV or Jade. You remember Jade? They weren't
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
be like for real. There
Don't
was
walk
so
away.
exactly.
Yeah.
Don't walk away. Yeah, that's my song. So,
All right, Dawn. Don't start
but
nothing now.
exactly, Tony. Right, we're singing this. But when I was managed by a woman named Cassandra Mills, she said that she was the one who was heading Jade. I mean, what's the oh my gosh, it's called Giant Records. And
Right.
she was
Right.
the CEO of Giant Records, and she said that she created Jade in the likeness of En Vogue.
Mm.
She admitted that, yeah. So, and Destiny's Child, Matthew Knowles has always said, and he told me in person, I saw him at an award show once, and he was like, I liken my girl group, my daughter's group, Destiny's Child, I liken them after En Vogue. So they would always give us our props. Even, Beyonce would always say in any interview she would do, she's like, we love En Vogue. And they were the first to do it and the first to step on the scene in 1990 and do it like that. So I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, like they gave us that respect, but they had their own thing. Thank God. You know what
Yes,
I mean?
yes.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing that there was a separation, but also an admiration at the same time.
Yes, thank
Because
you. Well, SWV, I always make fun when I see Coco because she wasn't so nice with their interviews and stuff, but they would say, you know, stuff like, yeah, they were like, we are not trying to be uppity like En Vogue, and we are not trying to be like them, you know, wearing all them gowns and stuff. I was like, how can y'all put us down? Like, just because we were friends doesn't mean anything. You're supposed to give, you know, props and support each other. But they were, you know, they were roundaway girls, and I guess you felt like
right.
people were trying to compare them probably to, oh, you guys don't sound like En Vogue, or you guys sound like En Vogue, or you know, because we were first, everybody would try to compare. You
Right.
know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
understand why she was a little bit frustrated.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just talked about the same thing literally the other day. I just did
Mm.
an interview with Mary Wilson from the Supremes, I think,
Yeah.
earlier this week. But we were
Uh-huh.
talking about that same kind of thing, and you know, I said it's crazy how they were called, you know, no hit Supremes and things like that because it took them a while, but then they
Took
ended
them
up
a
being the
while.
biggest out of the whole roster, pretty much.
That's right.
So
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. You wanted, after they had their first hit, everybody wanted to be like them.
that's right.
You know, it's always that. It's always that. It's always.
Yeah. I mean, and even still, though, you got to think about it. Eventually, you have to have something different about you because if not, you'll fade away. So,
Absolutely.
but
Yep.
because if your song sounds like, if SWV song sound like En Vogue, eventually nobody's going to start to listen to SWV because they're going to say, hey, I can listen to En Vogue.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
but
So,
the sounds were
and this
different.
is the thing too. You're right, because when we go, anytime we meet with a record company, um, they'll say, well, you know, if, for instance, if I was to go to a record company now and talk to Warner Brothers or Universal or E1, they would say, oh, well, you know, Rihanna is like the hottest thing right now. You know, do
Right.
you want to some songs that kind of sound like her, or Beyonce is the hottest thing right now, or Ariana Grande? It's like, no, those artists are themselves, and in their
Right.
own right, they're incredible. They do their own thing. They're in their own lane. You don't,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like you don't want to have something that sounds like the latest hottest thing. It's like you got to find your own niche, your own lane, and go that
Exactly.
way. You feel
Exactly.
me?
You
Yeah.
can't
So
over
Faith,
inflate it.
exactly. Faith didn't sound like, you know, Jill Scott. Jill Scott didn't sound like, what's her name? You know, Erica Dubois. Um,
Badu.
Everybody
There
had
you
their
go.
own. Badu, I'm sorry, it's
Yeah,
Dubois.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Erica Badu. What the heck? Yeah, they didn't sound like each other. They have their own thing. So you might hear something that is similar and people start to compare you, but you want to do you. You want to have your own imprint on the world. You know, you don't
Yeah,
want to sound
yeah.
like everybody else.
That's true. And I'm
Mhm.
glad you know, the backing of En Vogue was pretty much steady because you guys really carved out a niche for yourselves and made a
We
sound for
did.
yourselves. So
Right.
that was
Thank
definitely
you.
a plus.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
Now, of course, the second album, Funky Divas. Let's talk about it.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Now that was a very big album for you guys, and you had a lot of
Huge. Yeah.
singles out of there,
Exactly.
including My Lovin'. I think
Yep.
everybody loves that. Not this time. You know that.
Exactly. Up. Exactly.
That's right. Maxine really
Yeah.
showed out on that one.
She did. She
Um,
did. Both of us, we decided not, I don't even think we really had a conversation about it, but we felt like on the first album we were ignored.
yeah.
You know what I mean? We were just kind of in the background. Um, Although I had Lies as a second single, it wasn't a hit. It
Right.
wasn't a hit like Hold On was. And then You Don't Have to Worry was after that, when I know I'm going back to the first album, but I'm comparing
Yeah. Yeah.
something. And then You Don't Have to Worry was Cindy singing lead. Uh, and then after that was Don't Go. So again, it was Cindy and Terry that were focused on the most.
Yeah.
So for the second album, Maxine and I were like, okay, we're gonna step up this time. And she sang lead, but I sang the little parts. Doesn't matter what you do, what you say. She
Uh
doesn't
huh.
love you. No, you
That's
know what I
right.
mean? So, um, we just kind of stepped up and took the bat. We went to bat for that second album. Yeah, and I love it. When I see that video now, I just love it because Maxine, and then she did it again on Give It Up, Turn It Loose.
Yeah.
That was another single that we had from the Funky Divas album. So yeah, she stepped it up. She really did. But I did the biggest hit. Hello. You know? Oh yeah, I sure did.
Oh yeah.
Guys, oh yeah. But it wasn't on that album. That came after.
Yeah, and later. But speaking of my loving though, I loved you guys' cameo on in Living Color. With
Oh my
Jamie
gosh.
Foxx. I thought that was awesome though.
Oh my gosh. It was so, Tony, it was, when I tell you, if you ever do a show with a comedian, you're supposed to be serious, right?
Right.
You can't laugh because it takes you out of character. And they have what they call in acting, they have what they call the fourth wall.
Okay.
The fourth wall. So you're not supposed to overlook that wall and go past that and laugh. You're supposed to be in character. Oh my God, you guys, there's somebody in here, and who is this person trying to come in our room? We kept laughing and laughing. I was like, oh my God, I'm not gonna have any lines in this thing because I laughed through the whole thing. Oh my God, I was so unprofessional. I was supposed to be a thespian, you know, that's what they call actresses, you know.
Exactly.
I was not a thespian at all. Oh, it was terrible. But we got through it, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. What was your question for that, though?
No. I was just saying I thought it was awesome to see you guys in that way, you know. And then Jamie Foxx just made it even better because he just took over your part. So it was hilarious.
Exactly, it was. And wait a minute, he had on yellow shoes that you couldn't see on camera because they didn't pan down.
Yeah.
Woo! I guess he wears like a 12 or 13, and he had these big yellow women's shoes on. I was rolling. We died laughing at him. And oh my God, he just kept, because he would say jokes in between just to make us laugh even more. I was like, oh my God, I can't get through this. I can't get through it. Every time
I don't know how you made it.
Every time he would climb through the window, he would show his panties. He had on these girl panties. You know, you couldn't see him on camera, but he would, all right then. Okay, all right then. I'll leave. I know when I'm not wanted. You know, that kind of, oh my God, that man.
Oh, good.
So thank you so much. We had a blast with that. We did a lot of TV at that time when we first came out. Living Color, Different World, Rock. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. A lot of people forget about Rock. I don't even know. It's the different shows like that. That's another topic though.
Exactly. But,
of course, Funky Divas had one of my favorites, Giving Him Something He Can Feel, that you led on.
Yes.
Aretha Franklin cover that you really excelled on. What do you remember about that one?
What do I what?
I said, what do you remember about the experience from that song?
Oh my goodness. I remember being frustrated in the studio. I was so frustrated and couldn't get the speaking part out. And so at the end of it, you can hear me when I say, you tell me what does it mean? Because I was so angry with our producer. And so the way that I say it was like, you tell me what does it mean? I was so angry, Tony. I was pissed. And when I was done, I was like, is that what you wanted, Denny? Is that what you were asking me to do? He's like, yep. I was so pissed off, and because he was so calm. He had yelled at me and screamed at me and all this stuff. And then when I finally did it that way, I was like, is that what you were talking about? Is that what you wanted, Denny? He said, yep.
It took for me to get mad for me to get it right.
Exactly. And he was so calm after that. I was like, oh my God, you know? But yeah, that was the only thing that I remember about it. And you never know if what you're doing in the studio is going to translate and make a song a hit or not, or if it's the right thing, or because especially a song that you're redoing that someone else did.
Yeah.
Come on, this is Aretha, this is Riri, this is not Riri.
That's right.
There is no other voice, okay, like that. And she is just, she's been in my childhood since before I was born. So yeah, I'm sure I was listening to her in the womb. I mean, come on. And the fact that I had to redo this song by her, like, whoa. So it was a great, and then I love the video too. And a lot of there was a character in the video. One of the guys in the video was a character in the movie Sparkle, which is the original version that Aretha did. Yeah. And so he was in the video. And I was nervous about that too, because we didn't get to see the guys very much, but the very last hour of filming, all the guys started coming in. And we were like, oh my God. So we had to act very sexy. And when you see the video, that's that last hour of filming. Because it's one thing to do a video to no audience. Right. You feel me? And so we had to, you have the crew and the cameraman and all that stuff, but you don't have an audience. Yeah, so when the guys came in, we turned up. We were like, we have to be, okay, yeah, now we really got to put it on. You know what I mean? We really got to turn up. So, I remember that. I remember they kept saying that Al-Jabbar was on his way, and I'm like, please, where is he? Oh my God, but he didn't show up until after. So a lot of the scenes that you see them reacting to us, we weren't even there. Yeah, when the guy takes off his ring and puts it in his pocket, we weren't there. He's just looking at us and acting like he's reacting to us, but he wasn't there with us. So it was only a few people that a few of the men that we got to meet. Johnny Gill, I think we met him on set. Yeah. I remember that about the video. They wanted us to kind of have a Jessica Rabbit feel. Yeah, very sexy. Yeah, like that. So we did.
And we did. I think it was awesome, though. It was awesome, and the way that you approached the song was very. It was very. It was unique, but it let it stay in its own lane. But it also gave it something, a little pizzazz.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you so much.
As soon as you came out.
Exactly. I think I put some youth on it. It was a younger sound. And then the backgrounds with the girls was just like so in vogue. It was so in vogue. We were so in vogue on that song. So even when we sing it live now, instead of saying on the talking part, when I perform it with the girls, I say, or even, when I perform it on my own and I have background singers, instead of saying, you tell me what does it mean, I say, divas, tell them what does it mean, like that. That's right. So it became our signature song, one of our signature songs. It really did. Yeah, it really did. And the red dresses, the red gowns,
Exactly, because you got, I don't know, but En Vogue always has some great videos. I don't know, who had the budget for it, but you always had some great videos, and the styles were like, out of this world. It was like different. So, of course, with you guys' vocals, it just meshed right together.
It did. They did.
Speaking of videos and looks, Free Your Mind was another one that was off of that album. Mine was very different though. You jumped right out the gate saying, I wear tight clothes and high heel shoes. That doesn't mean I'm a prostitute.
Exactly. That was Cindy's part. Yes, exactly. Because after we went on our first major tour, which was MC Hammer, he was like, wait a minute, you guys are not making any money. Like, I can't understand that. One of us had a conversation, I think Cindy had a conversation with him and told him, we're broke. He was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, you guys are the biggest things on the charts. Right. So when we left the tour, he paid for us to go talk to his attorney. Mm-hmm. He paid for the whole day. I'm trying to stay as close to the light as possible because it's getting dark.
Okay.
He paid for the whole entire day for us to go and meet with his attorney and ask questions. And I was like, I brought my contract and I redlined and underlined some stuff. And I was like, what is this? Like, why are we not making money? And he's like, okay, you guys have a dinosaur deal. You guys have a dinosaur deal. It's like major labels don't even sign deals like that anymore too much. So when we went in the studio to do the second album, Denny was pissed at us. Our producer was upset with us because we had gone to another attorney to ask questions. And he didn't like it. So he told us that we could not write on the second album. and that
Oh, so
he was
that
gonna.
explains the reason why they both of the producers pretty much wrote the whole album almost.
And you don't see our names on there. Yeah.
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 Okay.
They Denny asked us what our idea, each of our ideas was for Prejudice. And I don't like that light, so I'm going over here. Yeah, he asked us what we thought our idea was of Prejudice was. And I told him that my idea was of Prejudice. Well, Cindy told hers, which was, when we wear tight clothing, men assume, oh, she's trying to be too sexy. It's like,
Yeah.
mind your business. First of all, I'm a grown woman. I'm gonna wear what I want. And so that was her idea of Prejudice. And then my version, was, I like rap music, wear hip hop clothes. Doesn't mean that I'm out selling dope. Oh my, forgive me for having straight hair. That was Terry's part. So, it doesn't mean that, we have all these, what do you call them? Assumptions about each other as human beings.
Yeah.
So that's where Free Your Mind came from. They just wanted us to write our idea of what we thought Prejudice was, but we didn't get the credit. That we did not get the credit for that, and I'm just to this day like upset because we should have been paid for that. Right. We helped you write Free Your Mind, even if it was you taking our ideas. We still helped you write it. You know?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I thought Free Your Mind was very, especially at that time, was very different from what people was actually doing. I mean, you had hip hop and you had R&B, and then you even had R&B mixing with the hip hop, but you didn't really have anybody speaking on those kind of issues, that bold and that loud. So I thought it was a refreshment of a song.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely you guys should have been credited. And I was wondering why, I didn't see you guys have any really writing credits on that album that much.
You're so observant. You're so observant, Tony. Seriously.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, but no, we didn't. We weren't allowed to write, and that's why our names aren't on that record. Yeah.
You're
so observant, though. Seriously, like fans never say stuff like that. I appreciate you recognizing that. That kind of solidifies what I'm saying. That's why we weren't on there, because they were pissed off. Denny mostly. I won't even put Tommy in that. I'll just say Denny was pissed off. To me, if anybody has a problem with an artist asking questions and trying to figure things out and having a problem with the confusion that's going on, they just want things cleared up so they can understand what's happening. Then they are hiding something. And Denny was hiding something. It was, for him, it was not broken. For him, everything worked fine. So he didn't want us asking questions. Take what we give you and be happy with that. That's what he wanted, basically. Yeah.
That's right. That's true, and that's what people do to you sometimes, because, like you said, they might be hiding something. So you have to be very aware. I noticed, even in looking at En Vogue's career, I know that sometimes people probably made assumptions about you and called you crazy and a wild child and different things.
They did. I was all that. I was crazy. Yep.
Yeah, so
I'm glad. Wait a minute, Tony. I should have been senile. I should have been not senile. I should have been postal, because anytime if you make 28 million records or more for a record label, and you don't see 2 pennies a record, like you barely see any money at all. Yeah, you're gonna go postal. You're gonna lose it. If I was a man, I'd have went up there and beat everybody's ass and held a gun to the head of the CEO of the company and pay me my motherfucking money. Exactly. And I have to say it like that. I'm sorry to curse, but it's real. And when a woman approaches things and asks questions, it's like, oh no, she's crazy. Oh, she's a problem. She's difficult. Oh, she's gotta go. Oh, she's a whistleblower. She's a problem. We got to get rid of her. So yeah, I was definitely considered the problem child of the group, and that's good. I'm the youngest one in the group anyway, so I will be that. I'm feisty. I will be all of that. Yes, I'm very crazy.
I think that's great. I think that's awesome, though. Not to be crazy, but I mean, to be crazy in a way, because sometimes it takes a level of craziness to deal with those kind of things, and to be able to see those kind of things that other people don't see. Right. And sometimes as a certain kind of person, or even as somebody who can see through things, people will call you crazy when they don't see a vision or they don't see
That's
something
right.
that you see, and we can see it clearly. It's like, no, I know this is happening. I'm telling you, this is going to happen. It's going to happen like this. We need to do this.
Yeah.
They will say, no, I don't think so, and then it ends up happening. You're like, oh.
Well, in the case of, just from a woman's point of view, even with you've heard it greatest women over the years, when a female politician steps up to the plate and she's speaking truth to power, they call her crazy. Yeah. They label you all kinds of stuff because they can't control you.
Right.
So that's why I'm like, yeah, you can call me crazy if you want. That's fine, because you can't control me. It's not going to work. And you'll never be able to control me. So if that's what you want to label me, that's fine. But over time, what I'm grateful about is that the world could see what I was trying to say all along. I've been saying this. Yeah, I've been saying this since 1997. So my story has not changed. It's been consistent. On any red carpet event that I've done, on any interview that I've done, it's been consistent. So it's like come to fruition, I guess, in a sense that the world can see exactly what I was trying to say. Dawn was not crazy. Dawn was not lying. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm so grateful for this, because right now, even doing all these interviews, like typically you have a publicist that'll set up, or a PR firm that'll set up a bunch of interviews. And I've been doing this on my own. I don't have an assistant. I've been doing this by myself,
Yeah.
And I don't have the help of a manager or anybody else. I'm doing this alone. So I'm setting up all these interviews. I've done about 24 interviews in the last 3 weeks.
Woo.
And yeah, it's been a lot. It's a lot, Tony. I can't get the camera right to save my life though, but it's been a lot. It's been a lot of interviews, and I have I don't know, maybe 20 more to go, 20 more interviews to go. It really, they're coming in every day. I get at least 2 interview requests. So it doesn't stop. And I'm grateful, because all of the promotion that I've been doing, I should say, not even promotion, because I'm not promoting it. Well, I'm promoting my book, I guess. Yeah. And I'm promoting my new label. But there's nothing that's getting ready to launch like tomorrow that I'm promoting, in other words. Right. It's not like I have a new album ready to go and the single's been on the radio and I'm promoting that. It's like, it'll come in time, but it's not there yet. But what I'm loving about this is that God makes a way, even when you don't think there is one. And it's so clear, because I'm doing all these interviews and it's free promotion. Yeah. And this is really what I love. It's free promotion, and that's great, but that's secondary. The first thing that I love about it is that the requests are there. People want to talk to me. You guys Tony wanted to talk to me, And I love that. I love it, because it shows that I've been gone for such a long time in the public eye. Lucy Pearl was the last thing that I've done as far as an album release. And the fact that I have all these requests means that people are still loving me. They haven't forgotten. You feel that way sometimes. When too much time has gone by, you're like, oh my God, I'm kind of getting dusty over here. The dust is starting to settle, and it's nice. It's just nice to get those requests, and to tell my truth.
It is. And I'm glad you're able to tell your truth and your side of, or whatever it may be. I just told Mary that the same thing the other day. I was thankful to her for even writing those books. And I know a lot of people thought, oh, she's messy, oh, she's this, oh, she's that. But it's nothing like telling your own story, because guess what? If you leave this earth, somebody else will.
Absolutely. Well, not only that, absolutely not. You don't want that. But the thing is anytime, I won't say for men as much, because I haven't really heard men doing memoirs and people saying they're messy. They're just telling their story. Yeah. You feel me? True. Totally different perception. That's true. And with us, it's like, when you tell your truth, people tend to say that we're being messy, and I'm like, no, that's just the truth. You just happen to love the other members of my group, so that's why you think I'm being messy. Right. But I lived it. I saw it. This is what I witnessed. This is what happened. And I'm here to tell my story just like anyone else on this planet. Like you said, if I don't tell it, somebody else will sure enough come out with a memoir about Dawn Robinson and make a bunch of money.
That's right.
And and they probably won't even give anything to my family that's left behind. So
At all.
yeah, it's time for me to do an album. I'm sorry, it's time for me to do my own book, which brings me to that subject. I am working on my memoir, and
Okay.
I felt the same way you're talking about right now. Like while I'm writing it, I feel like, oh, do I tell the truth about this? Do I put this out there? They're going to think that I'm being messy. They're going to think that it's being, oh, Dawn is she's crazy anyway. She probably made all this up. It's like, no, this is the truth, nothing but the truth. This is how I saw it, and this is my story.
Yeah.
And what's great, again, it goes back to all these interviews that I've done all these years. From 1997, when I left the group, I've done interviews.
Right.
Woo! And so now it's like everything that I said is coming to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying that Cindy and Terry sued Maxine, and it was messy. It was public.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that they won. And recently, Cindy and Terry, we just did a reunion last year. I want
Right.
to
For
say it was
Sylvia
around
Roan, right?
December for Sylvia Roan. Yeah, you know our history, Tony.
Yeah.
You follow very closely. I appreciate that. But yes, we did a reunion. She asked us to do a charity event for cancer, and I wasn't going to do it because she wasn't paying us. And anytime there's a charity, everyone knows that has done a charity, knows that everybody for the charity gets paid. So why can't you pay us? You didn't pay us all the years we were together. You gave us 2 pennies a record, and now you want us to do a charity for free?
Right.
I was like, hell to the no. But Maxine was like, Dawn, please, this is a good look for us, because we were doing a project, her and I together, called The Funky Divas, which is a title after the second album for En Vogue. I was like, okay, Max, fine. So by the time I said yes, it was about a week after I said no, they had already asked Rona to come in, because Sylvia asked for the original group. Just like when we did the Alicia Keys, I'm going to show you. Well, you can.
The BET Awards.
Right, the BET Awards, that's right there.
Yeah.
When we did that with Alicia Keys, she requested the original group. She didn't want any extra members. She didn't want nobody else. She wanted Cindy, Terry, Maxine, and Dawn. And Rona got upset. But she had to take a back seat. And that whole year, I want to say, what year was that? Oh, that was 2008. So the next year, the following year, was when we did, we were going to do a reunion for our 20th anniversary. I think I missed something here because I started talking about something else. Oh, Sylvia, I'll go back to Sylvia, and then I'll go to the Alicia Keys thing. So Sylvia wanted us to do, she wanted us to do the charity event. I didn't want to do it because she wasn't paying us. And I was over in Vogue. I just wanted Maxine and I to go on and do our project, The Funky Divas, together. And she begged me, Dawn, this is a good look, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, Max, I'll do it. So by that time, they had already asked Rona to film my space. And so it was supposed to be just the 4 originals, because that's who Sylvia requested. And we did the show. It was great. But before we started, I'm sorry, I digress. Before we started, I asked their manager, Cindy Terry and Rona's manager, if I could bring in someone to film this whole thing for Maxine and I to document the whole thing for us. Just her and I, nobody else. He doesn't have to get. He's like, well, let me ask. I think it's fine, but let me find out. So the next day he called me and said, no, the girls don't want to be filmed. It's kind of new. You guys haven't seen each other in years. It's a weird reunion in a sense. And it's also, you guys have to get the kinks out. You haven't been seen together in a very long time. And I said, you know what? You got a point. Okay, so why don't I have him come on the day of the show and just film that? No rehearsals, no nothing. Because Maxine and I were rough. We needed work too. We really needed rehearsal. And he said, okay, I'll get back to you. And I'm still waiting for him to this day. It's been almost a year. He never got back to me. Maxine asked him too. She was like, well, Dawn said she asked you and we haven't heard anything. And this was the day of the show.
Right.
And he said, well, the girls are still kind of uncomfortable. So we never filmed. So in other words, they treated us like we were work for hire. We weren't able, and the whole time that we were rehearsing and doing all that, those 4 days that we rehearsed, and even the day of the show at soundcheck, Rona was filming, taking pictures the whole time. It was fine for
Right.
her to do that, but not fine for Maxine and I. And that is why I decided not to go and do the reunion, because it was bullshit. We were treated like outside work for hire, and we were not respected as founding members of the group.
Yeah.
And it's always been that way. Anytime we've gone back, I've gone back to do a few things with them, including, like I said, the Alicia Keys BET Awards. And even then it was, Rona had stepped out because Alicia only wanted the 4 originals. She was not having it with no extra members. That's what she requested, and that's what the girls complied with.
Okay.
And that following year, 2009, we toured that whole entire year, working up to 2010, because that was our 20-year anniversary.
Right.
And Rona sat out. The same thing. They told Rona, "You're not a part of this. You weren't there for the 20-year, for our first year of coming out." Excuse me. So for our 20-year anniversary, in 2010, you're not allowed to be around us either. And you just have to step out. We love you, but you weren't a part of the early beginnings with us. So it's just Cindy, Terry, Maxine, and I, Dawn. And they told her that before Maxine even got there. Maxine and I even got there. They told Rona, "You can't do this with us." And she was pissed again, but she understood that this is what, I wasn't there from the beginning. How can I celebrate something that I wasn't there for?
Right.
So that's why I didn't understand this year, our 30-year anniversary, why she didn't do the same. It just made sense to me that she would sit it out, take a back seat, chill for a minute, because we deserve to celebrate our 30-year anniversary with our fans without her around.
Right.
She has nothing to do with this. So why should she be here? If she had a reunion for, I think she was on the Mickey Mouse Club, and she was on the Jamie Foxx show.
Jamie Foxx show, yeah.
Exactly. And I always say, if she had an anniversary with either of those shows, would we be a part of it? Would Terry, Cindy, Maxine, and I be a part of that? No,
Nope.
Because that's Rona's thing with those particular shows. So she should, to me, sit it out for En Vogue to enjoy our fans by ourselves, to celebrate a time that she wasn't there.
Right.
And that was the first 10 years or the first 8 years of En Vogue.
Yeah, that only makes sense though.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny. I just think that our harmonies are different with her.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound the same at all. Her harmonies with Cindy and Terry are not the same. To me, it's not En Vogue. I don't even know why they're still calling it that. They need to call it EV next, or the next EV. I don't know, something different than En Vogue, because
right.
it's no longer what it was. It's like saying water is soda. No, water and soda are 2 different things. You know what I mean? So I'm not being funny again. I just think I have my point of view, and I'm very strong on it. And to me, she's in the way when it comes to the 10-year anniversary for En Vogue, or 20-year anniversary of En Vogue, or 30-year anniversary when that comes. She should just back off.
Yeah.
And
like
when the 13-year anniversary comes up with Cindy, Terry, and Rona, then she can, celebrate that. And me and Maxine will step out, because we weren't there for that part of it. They had a couple of albums, I think, Soulflower, and
they just had one, I think, a few years ago, Electric Cafe.
Yes, exactly, with the song Rocket on it. And I love it. So when they celebrate that, well, it wasn't a hit, but it went to number 10 or 11 on the charts.
Yeah.
But it was nothing like En Vogue, but that's their thing. And my point is when they celebrate that, me and Maxine won't be there for it.
Yeah.
It's not right for us to participate in something we weren't there to do. So I hope I got that out. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. No, of course.
Good.
Listen, I enjoy hearing all this stuff, not because of the bad or the good, or just because you get to tell your story. And I'm always interested in hearing what the actual truth was from people who were there. So,
exactly. Thank you. Right.
Of course, after Funky Divas, they had EV3 as an album. You had left already by then, before the album was out, but you did sing on Don't Let Go, which you led on, matter of fact.
Yes.
And that went on the Set It Off soundtrack as well.
Exactly.
And your biggest song, if I'm not mistaken, or one of the biggest songs that En Vogue has.
It is the biggest. It's the biggest. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. See?
Our biggest hit. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? How do you
It
sing
is.
on the biggest song that a group has, and you're gone, and now they have to sing this song?
Oh, Tony, the years have gone by with me trying to articulate it, figure it out, calculate it. I can't. It makes absolutely no sense.
Right.
There was so much going on with the label, between me and the label and Terry and the label. Terry had a solo album that she came out with first.
Right.
And when I tried to do the same thing, the label came to me and asked me to do the same thing. And I guess they thought they could play games with me, but I was like, when they wanted to do the next En Vogue album, which became EV3, like you're talking about,
Right.
I told them, well, they told me, they said, Dawn, we're going to go back. We're going to stop your album right now, because we were working, I was in the studio. And they said, we're just going to pause, put pause on your album. And we're going to go ahead and start on the next En Vogue album. And I said, the hell you will. You're going to do my solo album just the way you did Terry's solo album. You promoted her album. You gave her a budget to go on tour, tour support, financial support, tour support. You did a single. You did a video. You promoted her. Even Maxine, Sydney, and I went to see her first show at the Pantages in Los Angeles. We celebrated her. And now you're telling me that you're not going to celebrate like you're not going to take my album seriously? Oh, no. Hell to the no. No. Nope. I'm the wrong one. You fucked with the wrong one. And I was like, I will do the En Vogue album, and I'll continue to record, because we had actually started recording by the time I realized what I wanted to do. I said, but you're going to let my solo rights go. I will be here and I'll do the En Vogue stuff. I'm going to participate in that. I don't need to be solo for that. But as far as my solo rights within the contract for En Vogue, I want to be separate. I want you to let me go.
Okay.
I'm leaving. But I will uphold the contract as far as En Vogue is concerned. So every day I was at the studio on time. I was recording that album that you're talking about now, Funky Divas album. I was recording. I was there every day, just like the other girls. They were none the wiser what I was doing solo wise. They had no idea, because I didn't let my solo deal with Dr. Dre. Actually, I was talking about a deal with Dr. Dre. I didn't let that deal affect my participation for the En Vogue project. En Vogue was my number one, and that was always what I let it be. And I didn't allow my solo stuff to override what I was doing with En Vogue. That En Vogue took precedence. That was the most important thing in my life. And Sylvia didn't like that I showed her up. So that's why she fucked with me as far as, excuse me, I keep using the F-bomb. I'm so sorry. I'm much more of a lady than that. Oh my God, but I know better. Sometimes darn just doesn't get it, or dang doesn't get it, or freaking, but she messed with me, and she didn't like the fact that I showed her up, that I outsmarted her in a sense. So she wanted me to give her all these points on the first and second and third and fifth album and fourth album of my solo rights. And I was like, that's fine. If that's what you think you got to do to hurt me. But then when it came to the En Vogue album, which became EV3, they supposedly were going to take all my vocals off, and they kicked me out of the group anyway. And I couldn't understand that, because like I said, I complied with everything. There was nothing that I did solo that interrupted anything that had to do with En Vogue. I was at the studio every single day, on time. Sometimes I was late, but I was still there. I was always late. That was my MO. Always, Dawn's late again. It was always that with me. But I was there, and I did everything. So they took my vocals, supposedly they took my vocals off Whatever. They took my vocals off Right Direction. They took my vocals off of Too Gone Too Long. They took my vocals off of, they tried to take my vocals off of everything. But when I got to the studio, I went in the studio one time, and my ex-husband knew Babyface really well. So we went to his studio in Los Angeles, and Babyface was getting ready to drive out the parking lot. He saw us driving up, and he was like, whoa, and oh my God. And he gave him a hug, got out the car, we hugged each other, and he said, it was really hard for me to take your vocals off that song, Whatever. He said, so I pulled it back in the cut. I didn't take you off. And I was like, I can hear myself. I know my voice. I know my voice. I know what I sound like. And they would have been crazy to take me out anyway, because you're talking about crazy. They would have been crazy. They always consider me crazy. No, they would have been crazy if they took my vocals off, because that was the En Vogue sound. Cindy,
That's
Terry, Maxine, Dawn together, not Cindy, Terry, and Maxine. It's like, no, you guys need that fourth voice. And they knew that. That's why they left me in there. My thing was, pay me for my parts, because you didn't pay me. Right. And when I first saw Whatever Without Me, I saw the video and I just cried. I called my mom and I was like, Mom, I need the video. No. Because I was just so sad seeing them without me. It just was hard. And Gone Too Long, that video I love. That's one of my mom's favorite songs. And I'm not in the video, so it's hard. I didn't do Riddle. I wasn't on that song. That came after me. No. It's been crazy. It has been nuts. But yeah, it is what it is.
So let me ask you this, right? I heard Candy from Escape when they did their reality show a few years ago about getting back together. Candy talked about how they basically made her sign a member leave of absence, and she didn't want to come back to the group, and they want to replace her. In your case, did you have to do the same thing?
No, they didn't do any of that. That would have been great. Candy's was a little bit different because she's a huge producer. You know what I mean? She's done things outside of her group, so that's why she wanted a leave of absence or whatever she's calling that. I don't know how that works out, but no, they just kicked me out. That was it. There was no compromising. There was, to me, when there's a difference of opinion, you got to come to a middle ground.
Right.
And in this case, it was their way or the highway. That's not a middle ground. That is not a compromise. That is literally their way or the highway. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. So if I've been in the studio the whole time with you guys, and I've done everything as far as the album is concerned, the third album, which was EV3, I've been in here, I've been, I've recorded everything. Nothing that I'm doing outside of the group is interrupting this.
Right.
Nothing is causing a problem. Oh, Dawn's not at the studio again. She missed another day. She's not here. Nope. I was there every single day that I had to sing. And you guys are being so cruel that you want me out of the group because why? Really? I don't even know why to this day. Like I said to them in the very last meeting that we had, I said, Terry did a solo album. And we were all in the room. It was Terry, Cindy, Maxine, and I. Sylvia Rohn, our manager and his partner, so our two managers, and our attorneys. And I was like, what? So 10 people in that room. Why are the attorneys here? It was supposed to be a creative meeting about the last album. And it ended up being, 10 people. And I was like, so wait a minute. So basically, Terry did a solo album, and that wasn't a problem. But I did a solo album, and you guys want to kick me out of the group? Why? Why is that any different than what Terry did? And Terry turned to me and she said, Dawn, it just is. That's why. It just is. Nasty like that. And I was like, oh my, you know how my mom never did it to me, but I have heard parents say, because I said so.
Yeah.
If you ask a question, why can't I do this, Mom? How come I can't? And she's, because I said so. Actually, my mom has said that to me when I was younger. And that was her word. That's how Terry made me feel. It just is, Dawn. It just is. And I was like, wow. So I am that much of a threat to you and the group and Sylvia Rohn. I don't understand it because within our contract, we had a solo right. All of us. Maxine, Cindy, Terry, myself, there was a solo clause within the contract. Okay. So we all could have done that and we all could have had hits. And when you're in a group, you should have an option because everybody can be Justin Timberlake. From NSYNC. I think all those guys could sing, if I remember correctly, or at least another one or two of them can actually really sing. So why shouldn't Cindy have? Cindy's beautiful. She should have had a solo career. Maxine should have had the same thing. Terry had it. She was the only one that got to do it. And I still to this day don't understand that.
Yeah, I think that would have been an ideal situation, and it would have been good still because I mean, if you think about it, a few groups have done that, including Destiny's Child,
Yeah.
going to do solo stuff, and then they came back together. But that only
Yeah.
helps with the brand itself,
That's right.
or at
Not
least
only
that's
that.
the goal.
Yes, exactly. It is the goal. But not only that, Tony, it also, when you go out, it's like leaving home and going to college. You learn a lot.
Right.
And then you come back and you tell your parents what you learned and you grow that way.
Yeah.
And in the case with the group, when you go out and do projects with other people, you bring back what you learned from those situations and you teach the group about, yo, we can do this and have these kind of harmonies, or we can do this and bring the music like that. And I don't know, we could do a trap song for En Vogue. I don't know, we could have just kind of educated each other on stuff that we learned. You come back with a new sense of ideas and creativity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you're not allowed to do that and you just stay within the group, you don't grow. There's nothing new to add to anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of the business side, I heard you say in another interview that TLC pretty much fared out well than you guys did, as far as when they talked about they're not making any money deal and coming out, with Left Out doing the calculations and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
But them kicking you out of the group, did that kind of exclude you from receiving royalties later or anything?
Well, see, the deal that we did from the very beginning is the deal that we continue to have on each album.
Oh.
That doesn't happen.
Okay.
When you're successful and you go platinum, the minute you go platinum, Tony, you're supposed to go in the studio and literally, not figuratively or literally, tear that old contract up and renegotiate for better terms.
Right.
We never did that. Not ever, ever. So for the first album, we had the same amount of points and percentages, and our advance was the same amount as the second album, Born to Sing. Born to Sing was the same amount of points and percentages and advance and all that as Funky Divas. And then when we did the Runaway Love album, which was Runaway Love, that's what it was called. The third, it wasn't really an album, it was an EP. We never renegotiated for that either. So
wow.
Yeah, exactly. So we were making 2 pennies a record on the first album per girl, 2 pennies a record on the second album per girl. It didn't change. It didn't change. And that, the conversations Maxine and I would have together was that right there. We are still doing the same thing and we're not making any money. And Dawn, I know you're absolutely right. And let's talk to the other girls. Let's get Cindy and Terry on the phone tomorrow. And I'd call her the next day. And she would like, oh, well, I talked to Denny last night and he said, don't go in the studio and don't go to the attorneys and don't change anything because everything is fine. Everything is fine for him because he only has one other person to split all those points with. Exactly. It is not fine for us because there's 4 of us and we're the artist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're the ones going out on the road and living out of suitcases year after year, day after day. Traveling across the world to make sure that they get richer, they make more money because our points are so low that we're not making money.
That's true.
So,
and not only that, but then they're producers, they're also writers. So, I mean, they're getting multiple checks at this point.
That's real. On that second album, especially, they cleaned up.
Yeah.
They cleaned up. Yes, that's real. You see that. So you're so perceptive. I appreciate that you understand what we went through, but so when Left Eye said, boys and girls, get a pen and piece of paper. I'm gonna teach you how a group of like TLC, as big as TLC was, can go from selling all these millions of records to making $1.14, I think she said, per record. We made 2 pennies. They made $1.14, so they made money. Is my point. They made more than we did. They didn't make what they should have, but they definitely made more than us. So yeah, that should have, had they taken care of us, Denny and Tommy and the record company taking care of us, we'd still be together today.
Yeah,
no doubt.
I think it shows to me personally, and just watching you tell your story over the years.
Yeah.
I don't think you personally have a problem with the ladies. I think you have a problem with the things that they've done sometimes. But I think.
Oh, go ahead. I'm listening.
I think your problem was more with what the business was, or how it was handled amongst the girls, mainly. Now you can correct me if I'm wrong on that though.
You're wrong. You're wrong, Tony.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I'll correct you real quick.
Go ahead.
What I have a problem with is if you know that something wrong is happening and you don't step up, just because the record company was wrong, they knew for sure what was going on, but it wasn't up to the record company to fix it. It was up to our management. It was up to us as a group to fix it. So when I went to them, like Maxine especially, and telling her, we're only making 2 pennies a record and we need to make more money. And we sold, I remember taking our manager for the first time, the very first time we were on BT. We had just gotten back from London and we were huge over there. Here we come back to the stage and we're huge here again. And I'm like,
Right.
David Lombard, I took him to the backstages of BET because I needed some privacy. I just needed to find out for myself what was going on.
Right.
And I asked him, I said, aren't we supposed to be making money? Like, when are we supposed to make our millions? When are we supposed to, when is the money going to kick in for us? Like, when is that going to happen? He said, oh, that's a pie in the sky. Just like that. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, well, you got to sell millions of albums for that to happen. I said, we did. Right now we're at 5 million on our first album. When we Funky Divas is, I think we had just started Funky Divas, but the first album had sold millions. That was my point.
Yeah.
And the second album sold even more. So when is that going to happen exactly? Now he was a manager for us, but he was also managing our producers. So there was what they call a conflict of interest there.
Yes.
You're not supposed to do that because it doesn't fare well for either side, really. And it just didn't work out. It wasn't working. I mean, he would come home from our tour with more money than the whole group put together. There's a problem with that. I have a huge problem with that. Like, you're the manager and you're making more money than Cindy, Terry, Maxine, and I put together. What? Oh man. So yeah, I was supposed to go back to a story about Alicia Keys, but I never did. But anyway, it was a huge problem, and the girls weren't seeing it. The record company came to us that day that Terry said to me, "It just is, Dawn." When I asked her about doing a solo album, that was when the group was like, "Okay, we got to get rid of Dawn." And Sylvia Rome was asking me a bunch of questions, and I was like, "Wait a minute, I'm trying to. You're not being fair to me because you treated Terry totally different than you treated me. You came to both of us and asked us to do a solo album, but you're holding me accountable for something that you're not holding Terry accountable for."
Right.
I don't understand this. And the other girls, Cindy and Maxine, just sat there and looked at it too. They heard me say that, but they didn't stand up and say, "Hey, Dawn is right. Let me ask a question here. Let me figure this out. Like, what is going on here? Why are you treating Dawn differently than we're treating Terry? Why is that?" It was so unfair and so blatantly wrong. And I still to this day don't understand it, except to say that I was a threat. As opposed to them seeing me like Beyonce and say, "Hey, Dawn is talented. We put out Terry's album. We're going to go ahead and put out Dawn's album as well."
Right.
And instead of doing that, they just kind of folded. Everybody folded and nobody had my back. I remember when we left that meeting that day, we were in Terry's hotel room. And when we left, I can see myself right now walking down the hallway from her hotel room. We went to the elevator. Somebody pressed the button. I don't remember who, but I was out of body because I knew I was like, this is going to be my last day with these girls. Like, I'm out of the group. Wow. And I had a 2-way pager at the time. And I had texted my boyfriend to say, meet me at my manager's house, Trudy Green, because something's going on. The girls are going to kick me out of the group. I feel it. I can feel it. And sure enough, when I got there, Trudy had already spoken with Sylvia Rome because Sylvia called her. And it was a big mess. It was just a big mess. So yeah, it's just really difficult because it should have been just a conversation with the 4 of us.
Right.
Maxine, Terry, Dawn, Cindy in the room.
Right.
Can we just talk as a group? Can we come together and figure this out? There was no conversation. It was like Terry was the leader of the group and she led the way and the other 2 just complied with what she wanted. And because she should have been saying, instead of saying, well, it just is Dawn, she should have said, you know what, Sylvia, why is this different? Like, I did a solo album as Terry Ellis. You offered Dawn a solo album, and why is that not okay for her? Like, why are you, you know what I mean? What's different?
Yeah.
What
but I
is
tell
different?
you what,
Dawn is.
I think that maybe one of the reasons that she didn't do that was because it was working in her favor at the time too. So
In what way? What do you think?
Well, the fact that she had already done the album, she had got what she wanted basically, to a certain degree.
But she didn't have any success with it. Like, her album was over, which is why Sylvia, by the time Sylvia Rhone came to me to do a solo album,
mm-hmm.
Terry was already done and getting ready to start promoting. So I was just starting my album by the time they told me, no, we're going to go in the studio. And I recorded like 2 or 3 songs. But Sylvia only got to hear one. I didn't even get to let her hear because I wasn't done with the other ones yet. By the time she came to me and said, hey, we're going to do an En Vogue album. I'm like, no, the hell you won't. You will not. So Terry had already done her album and been out, and it failed. Basically, I'm not being funny. It is what it is. On the charts, it failed. It didn't go anywhere. It didn't do anything. So it wasn't even, she didn't have a top 40 hit, top 10, nothing.
No.
So
that is true.
Yeah, so she didn't have, there was no threat, in other words. That's what I mean when you said I was a threat. There was no threat to her because her album was long done by the time I started mine. It was already, feel me? So there was no reason for her to be threatened by me. And I am her sister. That's what I thought. I thought we were all sisters. Like,
yeah, but I don't know.
I think there's a jealousy there that I wasn't. I see it now in hindsight that there was a jealousy there.
Right. That's what I was about to say. And sometimes that's underlying that you can't really tell. And also too, I don't know, but I have seen, or it looks like that Cindy and Terry has like a undying loyalty with your producers too. So it's really a thing.
That is so real, Tony. I've said it before. You probably heard it in interviews, and I talk too much, so I say these things, but it is real. I likened it at one point when I was working on my solo album before Sylvia. Was this with Sylvia? This was with Jimmy Iovine. This is when I signed to Dr. Dre. I didn't sign to him directly. I signed to Interscope, Jimmy Iovine. And I was working with Teddy Riley. No. What's his name from? Oh my God, Dawn. It's gonna come to me. But I was working with this producer. He's in a group as well.
Okay.
Name some of the boy bands. I know. Oh my God. So I was working with him, and I did a song called Prostitutes of the Industry.
Okay.
I just wrote it. We wrote it together. Because, and basically the lyrics were, I can't even remember the melody. Prostitutes of the industry, sign on the dotted line and give your money to me. Because, prostitutes do all the work all day long. Yeah. And go home and give the money to their pimp. And that's how I felt like the record company was the pimp. Yeah. Devontae, that's who it was. Devontae Riley.
I thought so, from Jodeci.
Jodeci, yep. Devontae and I wrote that song together. Prostitutes of the industry, sign on the dotted line, give your money to me. Something like that. Okay. And we never finished it. But he was too messed up, bless his heart. He was way out there. He was doing drugs and crazy stuff in the studio. And I was like, Devontae, you're so talented. And I hate to see our people, anybody like that, just anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he wasn't drooling and he wasn't shooting up or crazy stuff like that, but he was definitely doing way too much weed. And I was like, trying to focus, let's work. We couldn't get anything done. It was like crazy. So, but that song was exactly what I'm talking about right now, Prostitutes of the Industry. So that's kind of how I saw it. Like we were 8 years in, and now Sylvia Rhone wants to come and have a meeting about the En Vogue album. So we did, you know, Born to Sing, and then we did Funky Divas, and in between that and the third album, which was EV3, we did
Right.
Don't Let Go as a single. So we had all these years that had gone by, and now you want to come to us and talk about you got our backs? Where were you from day one? Like, I'm not understanding that. I just don't understand. And so I think I was a little too smart for them. And people don't like it when, especially when a woman outsmarts them. They just can't stand that. They want us to be stupid and look the other way and act like we don't see what we see. Just, you know, pretend that we're not smart. And I will not.
Yeah.
I was
And
born
I mean,
with intelligence. I was born with intelligence. I am what God made me, which is an intelligent woman. And I have talent. I know what I bring to the table. And I'm not going to act like you telling me that we're not going to do my solo album doesn't mean anything. Well, she said, we're going to do it, but we're going to put it on the back burner. We'll come back to it. No.
And you know, that's not happening anyways.
And I knew that wasn't going to happen. No, not at all.
So, I mean, like I said, I think it's good that you were the way that you were, or are rather, because, you know, people will try to get over on you no matter what. Especially in business, especially.
Oh, come on.
So that's why I said, you know, Cindy and Terry has that undying loyalty with the producers, but and for whatever reason, you know, I have no idea why, but at the same time.
I don't either. Well, because, and I would always say this too, Tony, I don't understand either, because Terry was getting the D. I'm just going to put it like that, right?
Okay.
She's dating the producer. That's what she's getting from her man. But Cindy's not. So what the heck?
Right.
I used to tell Cindy all the time, what if, just God forbid, anything happens to your husband? At the time he was playing, when she first met him, he was playing baseball for the Cincinnati Reds.
Right.
So financially he was set. They were good. She was protected. She had it. So that's why she would slow play things too, because she could. Financially, she was taken care of. She didn't have to go in and make decisions about records and stuff. She's like, whatever. I'm a new mom too. When she first had her child, she didn't want to be on the road with us. She wanted to be home with her husband and being mommy. And I understand that. I really do. But because she was so safe and she was so protected, everything was secure for her. Maxine and I were kind of on the outside. So I just didn't understand her loyalty to Denny the way it was with Terry. I got it with Terry. I understood that. And I would tell her, you may have to be the breadwinner one day. What if your husband decides he doesn't want to come back to you?
Right.
What if he meets somebody somewhere? I don't know, on the road. Life happens. Yeah. So think about that, because you may have to be the breadwinner. As she continued to have children, she has 4 kids now. It's like, okay, you're on your 2nd child. What if this and what if that? You know, it's like, well, you're right. You got a point. You know, she talks really nice.
Yeah, she did.
You got a point, Don. Yeah, I love her. I love Cindy. I love them all. It's really sad that things didn't work. You know, really makes no sense.
I like I said, it's not that you're crazy, because eventually, Maxine held on.
I'm crazy. Like I said, I should have been postal. Tony,
right.
I should have been postal, okay? I should have been, postal. I am crazy in the sense that you cannot walk all over me. Dawn is nuts. Right. She will go crazy. She will lose it and have a problem with you. Yes. So call me crazy all you want. But you can't call me. You can't say that Dawn didn't fight for her rights. You can't say that.
And that's a good thing, though. But that's what I'm saying. It's not that you're necessarily crazy. Yeah, that's fine. But
no, I'm not. I'm not certifiable.
Yeah, exactly. Because Maxine stayed for a little while, but she eventually left. So it was something there that was not really working for, you know, the group itself. Cindy and Terry have really been the mainstays this whole time, but
exactly.
But even
with that, Terry left the group. Like I say all the time, she still left the group. She did a solo album, but she didn't do the solo album with En Vogue, so it was her solo album.
Right.
She didn't do an En Vogue album. She did a solo album by herself. Right. That's not a group thing. So she left the group too. She was the first to leave the group. Technically, she left the group.
she did it with the producers from En Vogue, so she feels like I was still in the group. No, you went. We had agreed, the four of us had agreed to not go in the studio until they renegotiated our contract, because we were, you know, we're still under the first contract trying to do all these different albums. And so for that third album, we had agreed that we weren't going to go in the studio until they renegotiate. We need better terms.
Right.
And Terry ended up going in the studio anyway. So that was not an En Vogue album. That was a Terry Ellis album. So she left the group first, technically. And to me, we all should, when I was sitting in that meeting saying, well, but we're only making 2 pennies a record, and this isn't okay, and why is this happening? And where was the label? You know, from day one, you guys should have had our backs. And now all of a sudden, 8 years later, all of that stuff that I was saying, every one of the girls should have been saying the same thing. But Maxine tells it like this. She said, they knew that I was right, but they were afraid. And Cindy has said that to me as well.
Yeah.
Cindy and I met 2 years after they kicked me out of the group, I think. And that's when they kicked Maxine out as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Cindy told me the same thing. She saw me at a party. We were at, our choreographer had a party. And Cindy was there. Her and her husband were there with their new baby. And their baby was not even 6 weeks old. One of their daughters. And she saw me as soon as I opened the door. I was the first person to walk in, and because I had a bunch of people with me. And I looked in the living room, and he had a mansion. So when I looked in the living room, she was sitting on the couch, and I was like, oh my God. And Cindy looked at, she's like, Dawn. She was holding her baby. She was getting ready to start breastfeeding. And I got choked up. I didn't know what to say. And she had her husband. I said hello, and I looked at the baby for a while, and we had small talk, but I was nervous. So I walked into the party, and I told our producer, our choreographer, I said, you knew that she was coming, and you knew that I was coming, and you didn't tell either one of us that we were going to be here. I'm upset with you. And he said, yeah, I kind of played that. I did that. So about maybe a half hour, 40 minutes, Cindy's husband came and asked if I would go to lunch with her. And I said, of course I will. You know, I love Cindy. I haven't changed. I'm still me.
Right.
And so about a week after that, we went and had lunch. And my mother said to ask her, when I get to that meeting, just ask her why. Why did you guys kick me out? Why didn't you guys have my back?
Mm-hmm.
What was that about? Like, what is that? What is it? What happened? And Cindy said, so she brought, she had these two, and I'm going to put this in my book. So I love this story. I had given Cindy 2 beautiful little bottles. It's, you can put oils in them. They're like crystal bottles. So they're frosted crystal bottles.
Okay.
And they have tops on them, and you can put oils in them and put perfume or anything you want, any essential oil that you want in these little bottles. And she had them wrapped in tissue paper, and the tissue paper was like that long. So she had to unwrap and unwrap and unwrap and keep unwrapping and unwrap and unwrap and unwrap. And excuse the phone, I'm sorry.
Sure.
And she kept unwrapping this paper all the way up. I was like, Cindy, what is that? She said, well, hold on. I just want you, do you remember these? And she held it up, and she put them on the table, actually. And I was like, no. And I picked up one of them, and I was like, what is this from? And she said, do you remember you gave me this, our first Christmas together in 1990? Actually, it was probably 89.
Mm.
Yeah, before the album even came out, because that was our audition was 89.
Right.
And I think I gave them to her then, or maybe that next year. But she said, you gave these to me when we first met. I was like, you kept these? She said, yeah, I kept them. And she said, and I have them in my cabinet in my bathroom. So her husband has one bathroom, because they have a mansion too.
Yeah.
Because of him, they have a mansion. Not because of Cindy, they have a mansion, but because of Glenn, they have a mansion. She said, every day I go to brush my teeth, I see you, because these are in my bathroom. And she said, God keeps putting you on my heart, and I wanted to make amends with you. I am so sorry for what we did. And I started crying right then at lunch. And she said, I'm sorry. And I said, but I just want to know why. And she said, because we knew that you were right, Dawn, but it meant that we had to fight against the record company, and we were afraid.
Yeah.
We were afraid. You had a lot more guts than we did. And I was like, wow. So yeah, that's why it fell apart. I was like, but we could have had a conversation. Like, all we had to do was talk. any relationship that, I don't care if it's you and a coworker, or you and your mom, or you and a sibling, or you and a loved one, or a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever happens, or even someone, a stranger in the store in front of you, if you're not communicating and someone steps on your toe or they bump into you, you're like, excuse me. And they don't say sorry, or I'm so sorry, I was rushing, I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm sorry about that. That's where the communication breaks down. Instantly we get angry, we have a reaction that's negative, and it doesn't go anywhere good. So had they talked to me, I would have brought up just Cindy, Terry, Maxine, and I, and Cindy, Terry, and Maxine, and I would have talked. I would have said, Terry, you did a solo album. Cindy, Maxine, you guys weren't ready to negotiate. Cindy, you were sitting on the fence because your husband got money.
Yeah.
I have a house. I have a house to pay. I have mortgages to pay. And I was about to lose my house. So when Sylvia came to me for a solo album and Terry wasn't ready because she was out doing her solo album, I said yes. I said yes. And what I regret is that I didn't tell Cindy and Maxine, that I was doing it. But again, the communication was broken down, even with me. Me. Yeah.
But it's awesome that you are able to acknowledge that, even on your end, though, because a lot of people always want to point fingers. So I'm glad that you acknowledge that on your end as well. But communication is always key in anything, because
the reason I do admit that I didn't tell them, but the reason I didn't is because when Terry went in to record her solo album, she didn't tell us. We were supposed to go in as En Vogue, and she ended up at the studio, and we called her at the studio. Why are you there?
Right.
The four of us agreed to stay home until they renegotiate our contract, like I said. So she was in the studio. We were like, what the hell? We agreed on something, and you went against what we agreed on. So what is going on, Terry? Why are you there? And she said, well, I don't agree with you guys. And, you know, me and Denny are in a relationship, and I just don't feel right. And I was like, what? You and Denny's relationship has nothing to do with the money, honey. You gotta
right.
You gotta look out for yourself. Like, come on.
Exactly.
Oh my God, wake up, wake up. So she was not woke, as they say today. At that time, she was not woke, but neither was Cindy. Again, I can't understand, because Cindy wasn't getting nothing. I don't think she was, but
you know what?
I just think she was a little bit too afraid. I'll just put it like that. You know?
Yeah. I hope that's what it was.
I hope that's what it was. Exactly, Tony.
Yeah, but I mean, I like I said, I'm glad you were able to say communication is a part, because it is, and people don't understand that when it comes to business, it can change a whole lot of things. I don't care who you are.
That's
so
right.
it's always a big deal.